There's one thing I just can't understand. As good as William Nylander was, Hazy B, it's like, I don't understand. Like, the guy deserves to get paid or whatever, but how come Matthew Tkachuk was like up for the Hart Trophy, scored over 100 points, and it's like, you're getting $9.5 million in Florida. That's like, is that because of the taxes, or does everyone like screwing with us here in Toronto where it's like, now it's $12 million, now it's like as much. Like, I don't understand it. It wasn't Matthew Tkachuk. He's a damn good player. He had an unbelievable season. Is that just because of Florida that he gets $9 million? All of a sudden, every day, this guy's getting $1 million more. I know he's been unbelievable, but what the hell is going on here?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about it off air. Like, you know, I read LeBrun's article.
And Pierre's coming up later. Right. We'll ask Pierre about
I was laughing.
Who are these turkeys?
Well,
like, say, that's 12 and a half times 8.
Do you think,
that's what I'd say.
But I would, of course.
Yeah, no kidding.
But if you're a rival manager, you're going to be like, of course, pay him.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is running the price up, and they're laughing from the outside.
Right.
Like, it just, you know, Willie has been fantastic, and I don't know what the price tag will end up. I really don't. But I would have bet money on it.
Jamie,
weeks ago, that it was something with a 9.
Matthew Tkachuk, a good example.
Yeah, hell of a player.
The guy was on fire. He was up for the MVP or in the conversation. He gets traded to Florida, and it's like 9.5.
Keep in mind, guys, that's 2 years in a row he had 100-plus points. Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Well, Now, to clarify, he signed before he played a game for Florida.
Right. So
it was a sign and trade. He had the massive year in Calgary. Wanted a trade, basically demanded a trade.
Yeah.
Picked Florida. And that was a part of it, too. And that's what comes into play here is that, you know, Nylander, like the other guys on the team, is going to have to make a decision at some point where he wants to play.
Yes,
and if you want to play in Toronto, then I would think the Leafs at some point will say, yes, we are willing to come closer to you because we love you, William Nylander. They have made that very clear. Yep. This is what is bothering me, is that I would assume they are within a ballpark of each other. Right? Let's say the Leafs want to give him 9 a year and Willie wants 10.5. Those are arbitrary numbers. Those are my numbers. I'm not reporting that. But I think we're all smart enough to understand. It's probably
they're not offering him 6.
They're not offering him 6, and I don't believe Nylander's asking for 13. I could be wrong on both, but I doubt it. My guess would be it's a ballpark where they're comfortable that they'll probably find a resolution there, because regardless of what rival GMs are going to say off the record or anonymously, I don't believe there's a team in this league that's going to make him one of the 2 or 3 highest paid players in the game. It's not going to happen. And I love William Nylander as a player, and the Leafs have made it very clear they want to keep him. And I think he's made it clear publicly he wants to stay.
Right.
So what you got to ask is, okay, how are they going to find a middle ground, which they probably should, right? And they probably will at some point. And will this philosophy continue where they're going to put all their eggs into the baskets of, 4 or 5 players?
No kidding. It's like you come to Toronto to load up your pockets. I'm so sick. As much as I've enjoyed watching William Nylander, I like analyzing his play, breaking them down. This is special. This is great. It's like, is Toronto ever going to be the place where it's like a quality team? Or is this come here and let's see how many guys we could make, like pay $12 million? As much as it's like they put it on themselves, it's like, what are we doing here? Is this just about how much money like these skill players can make without a lot of winning involved? I don't get it. As much as we should be celebrating William Nylander and how great he's been, it just comes back to, this guy's driving the price through the roof. Why the hell wasn't Matthew Tkachuk driving the price through the roof?
Well, he was, and he demanded out.
Right?
Like he left. He left.
Okay,
Calgary.
but why didn't he say to Florida? Yeah, it's about 11.5 because
I can't give you that answer, and I don't know why that's the case. I can tell you why it happens here. It's because this market is infatuated with it, and we're all guilty of it, this show included.
Infatuated with what?
The money constantly, as opposed to the winning. Like what drives me crazy, and this is why it continues to happen. Now you're going to rile me up here, is what happens every single year. They are 17 games into the regular season. And Leaf fans, not all, but a lot of them are freaking out, as opposed to freaking out when they lose in the playoffs every year. And this is why they keep bringing the band back, because they know Leaf fans are going to do this. 17 games into the regular season, William Nylander would probably be up for the Hart today if it were nominated, or real close to it. He's been their best player. Guy's got 27 points. He's got points in 17 straight. He is a rock star right now.
Yep.
They drafted, developed him. He's been with the team for 8 years. He got drafted almost a decade ago. They love him. He loves them. It's an incredibly positive story.
Yep.
I also, to be fair to him, because, and all these players for that matter, it always comes up, well, it's a contract year. He just wants money. Maybe it's that he hates losing and he actually wants to win. Right? Yeah. Maybe. I don't know if that's the case, but I'd like to believe it because it happens everywhere else. We see it with every other player. When McDavid was off to a great start last year, it wasn't, well, he wants to get paid in 3 years. It was he was embarrassed they lost and they want to win. Maybe, hopefully, the Leafs, that's when you know things are going to change here.
Yeah.
Nylander can be the one that can drive it. He's not doing this to get a contract. He's doing it because they lost in the second round and he's sick of losing in the spring every year. But what happens all the time is in the spring, people freak and say, change. This isn't going to win. They can't win. They can't get it done. And then 17 games in the next year, people are like, pay him $13 million. Pay him $13 million. It's 17 in the regular season. And what I can't understand also about what's happening within this fan base, and I've lived it my whole life, I've been a part of it my whole life, the amount of Leaf fans who want the player to win these battles makes no sense to me. That doesn't mean you expect them to be shortchanged. And it doesn't mean you should expect them to take a massive hometown discount or anything like that. But this idea that the player should always win.
It's not about that.
Silly,
it's not about the player winning, Brian. It's about Matthews got that.
Exactly.
Mitch Marner's paid that. And then John Tavares has got that, so he deserves it too. So just give it to him. And then I'm like, what are we trying to build a team that wins hockey games here or not?
But that's another part of it, and that's what I was trying to get to, is now it's like this pitting Nylander versus Marner. Well, and get rid of Mitch and it's like, what is going on here?
Okay, so you're right.
And like they're all good. They're all very good players.
Very good
great
players, star players. But like I go to, if he's on New Jersey, is he getting more than Jack Hughes? If he's on Tampa, is he getting Kucherov's money? Like, it depends on your situation.
Of course.
This situation here is a little out of whack just based on the pay structure
and that's
of them.
because the previous administration, now one guy at the top has been there the whole time. Shanahan's been in all this too.
Right.
But they screwed themselves the last way around. We've talked about this countless times, and now they're still paying for it. They're still paying for it because they screwed up the last negotiations, including the idea that after all of that back and forth with Nylander when he was an RFA, you only got him for 6 years instead of 8. Because if he had an 8-year deal, he'd have 2 more years at 6-9, and this would just be, wow, look at this guy.
Biggest bargain in the league.
Biggest bargain in the league.
Like
exactly. It would be like, wow, this guy's at 6'9" for another 2 years. Now you got a window. But instead, they screwed that up, even though that was the best one they even gave out.
Right.
Was 6 at 6'9". But even that, it wasn't good enough because it should have been 8 years.
Well, let me just reset here.
Ridiculous.
I just want to settle
down. You fired
him
up, Bo. You fired him up already.
Dude, I'm in the same place. I'm like, you know what? This has been great. They got 4 wins in a row. And for anybody that doesn't really know sports, they'd be looking at us and saying, look at these 3 turkeys. They're all riled up after 4 wins where we should be celebrating the victories. But all you see is like, people are telling me, like, tweeting me, give them the 13. I'm like, what are you talking about?
But
first of all, why are you telling me?
They're not sane people saying, give them 13.
I know, but I'm just so, I don't know what the hell the word is to describe it. But in this market, it's like, the idea of these guys all getting paid, which they're wonderful players and they deserve the money, but it just seems like that sucks up so much oxygen. It's not even about being a good team. It's about make sure this guy gets paid. And it's like, what do you do? Come to Toronto to get paid and not do anything else? Just make sure the guy gets paid and everybody's happy. I don't know. It's just weird.
And that's why, Brad Treliving in conjunction with Shanahan and the rest of the front office, they're going to have to make tough decisions.
I know. And I'm starting to get bothered by all people say to me is, what do you think, Neil? I just started saying to people, I really don't care.
That's where I'm at too. It's
not my decision. You I don't care. I hope he makes all the money he can.
Do you want to keep these guys or not? Like that's what the dollar amount is not really that relevant. Like, yes, it is in terms of dollars and cents, of course, and you got to try to win every contract, all that kind of stuff. But if it's 9-5 or 10-5, you can still make it happen, and then you're going to shave it somewhere else.
And the cap's going up, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
But what it is there's a self-esteem issue in this fan base. It's always been there because they haven't won in almost 60 years. So there's no understanding of what it is. They've won 1 playoff round in 20 years. So because you know what? Even though you said what you said, and I agree with your analysis, and I think most people do about what this team's doing right now, bluffing it a little bit, there should be a complete and utter confidence in this fan base when it comes to the regular season. because this is where they've thrived for years.
6 years.
They are a juggernaut in the regular season. I have no concerns about them making the playoffs because in the regular season, the game is played a certain way, and these guys are rock stars. And you can live in a world where if you have 5 or 6 guys who are great, which is what they have, because Morgan Riley's been exceptional too.
Yep.
Riley's been one of the best defensemen in the league this year. So you got Matthews with 14 goals. You got Nylander with 27 points. Tavares has been good. Marner's been good, and he'll get better. I have no doubt about that. And Riley's been really good. And if the goaltending's solidified, that's 105 points to go into the playoffs. Yep. So that, as we said every spring, that's intoxicating because there's also there's a future with this team where if you keep Marner, you keep Matthews, you keep Tavares, you keep Nylander, you keep Riley, you keep those 5 guys at whatever the price is going to be. For let's say this year and another 4, what you're talking about is them rewriting every single record book this team has. That's what is available to them. I don't know if that matters to them necessarily. Matthews and Marner are already top 10 in points. Willie's like a year and a half away from probably getting there, a couple years away. Riley's going to be, right behind Salming probably in terms of like points and all that kind of stuff for a defenseman. All that is there, a ton of regular season winning. But I believe if you go down this route, which I think they probably will, because they've been on the record saying that's their plan.
Right.
Treliving basically said immediately, Matthews is going to get signed, and then Nylander is going to be our plan. They've already done one. Now they're moving to Nylander. What you're getting to now, because they're so deep into their careers, and they're mid to late 20s now, is the idea that was, I think, available, and I think a lot of Leaf fans were dreaming of 7 or 8 years ago, was a dynasty. They can do what Pittsburgh's done since Sid showed up. They could do what Chicago did when Taves and Kane showed up. They could do what Tampa did the last 4 or 5 years. That ship has probably sailed. So now what are you looking at? You're looking at probably the Ovechkin runway. Right. Can you get one? And I think that's probably what they're thinking, is throw everything at the wall, throw the money at these guys, keep them around. Matthews and Marner will be the top 2 point getters in team history. Willie will be top 5. Tavares, if he sticks around, could be top 10. Riley will be top 10. And if they can get one, it's the greatest group of all time. That's probably what they're hoping for. And that's probably what they're banking on. And Leaf fans have to decide if they're willing to take that ride and if it makes sense.